Directora General de Política Educativa, Mejores Prácticas y Cooperación, nos acompaña el excelentísimo señor Mushfiqul Fasal, embajador de la República Popular de Bangladesh. Se encuentra con nosotros el ministro Fernando González Saife, director general para Asia-Pacífico de la Secretaría de Relaciones Exteriores. Está con nosotros el señor Shahidul Anam, artista y fotógrafo. Nos acompaña igualmente la maestra Gloria Angélica Falcón Martínez, directora del Colegio de Defensa Nacional de Bangladesh, así como a todos los que nos acompañan hoy en este importante evento. Tiene el uso de la palabra el excelentísimo señor Mushfiqul Fasal, embajador de la República Popular de Bangladesh en México. La siguiente intervención contará con traducción consecutiva al español. Adelante, embajador.
Honorable Director General, my good friend Fernando González Saife, Distinguished Director General Education Policy and Cooperation, Ministry of Education, Ms. Gracia Ricardes, and Director of this historic museum, Ms. Gloria Falcon, Dr. Shahidul Alam, founder of DREEC, Explorer at Large of the National Geographic, Excellencies, Ambassadors, members of the Diplomatic Corps, friends and government, business and academia, the proud delegation from Bangladesh National Defense College, not arrived yet, but they're on the way, members of our Bangladeshi community, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum, good afternoon, Shubha Aparanno, buenas tardes. Please allow me to begin by expressing my heartfelt gratitude to the Department of Public Education and this historic museum to co-host this magnificent event and the colorful and memorable photo exhibition. Please accept my heartfelt thanks and gratitude. 50 years ago, in 1975, Bangladesh and Mexico shook hands for the very first time as diplomatic partners. That handshake was more than protocol. It was promise a bridge across oceans. Today, half a century later, we gather not only to make the passage of time, but to celebrate friendship built on trust, resilience, solidarity in shared dreams. When I think of Bangladesh and Mexico, I see striking parallels, two nations rich in colors, rhythm, and flavors. Whether in the vibrancy of Bangladeshi Mela or joy of Mexican Fiesta, two peoples who know hardship yet never lose their smile, two societies that cherish culture not as an ornament but as identity, our very soul. Over the past 50 years, our partnership has matured with purpose. We have built bridges through trade, culture, and education. Today, we are exploring new horizons, cooperation in agriculture to feed our people, defense collaboration to ensure peace, and civil aviation agreements to bring our skies and our peoples closer together. This very week, a distinguished delegation from Bangladesh National Defense College is visiting Mexico, a living testament that our friendship is not just celebrated in words, but carried forward in action. On the global stage, Bangladesh and Mexico stand side by side as voices for the unheard. We are champions of the global South, nation that believes prosperity must be shared, that climate action cannot wait, and that dignity belongs to every human being. Looking the next 50 years, I see vast opportunities investments in renewable energy, technology and pharmaceuticals, joint work in women's empowerment, disaster management and combating human trafficking. These are not abstract goals, they are promise for a better tomorrow for our peoples. Tonight's celebration shines brighter because it honors the powerful work of Dr. Shahidul Alam. His exhibition, Images That Break the Silence, reminds us that diplomacy is not only written in treaties, but expressed through art, courage, and the human story. Dr. Alam is not only world-renowned photographer, but also a fearless voice for democracy and human rights. He endured imprisonment in Bangladesh for speaking truth to power, yet his spirit remained unbroken. His courageous journalism and unwavering poise earned him recognition as Time Magazine Person of the Year in 2018. Following the historic July uprising, the new interim government of Bangladesh, led by Nobel laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus, honored him with the prestigious national award, the Ekushe Padak. His presence here tonight reminds us that art and integrity together can echo across borders and generations. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we celebrate this golden jubilee, let us look back with pride and forward with conviction. May the next 50 years be brighter, deeper, and more meaningful for Bangladesh, for Mexico, and for our shared humanity. Viva Bangladesh, viva Mexico. Thank you so much.
Muy buenas tardes a todos. Your Excellency, Ambassador Mustafa Al-Fasal, Ambassador of the People's Republic of Bangladesh in Mexico, distinguished guests, the honoree, what a pleasure to be here today. And it's a pleasure for many different reasons. The first one, of course, as the Ambassador mentioned, we are celebrating this year the 50th anniversary of bilateral relations between Mexico and Bangladesh, which formally started on July the 8th, 1975. And a few months ago, Bangladesh also commemorated its 54th anniversary of independence. It's a young nation with whom we share goals of development and prosperity. And the contact of cultures, the contact of countries encompasses many fields. And usually at the political level, at the diplomatic level, we think of how to enhance our trade, how to enhance political dialogue among many cooperation fields. We're now celebrating, actually, as Ambassador mentioned, a visit of the Bangladesh Armed Forces, signing an MOU on defense cooperation. But perhaps the most important one is the people-to-people contact. It's sharing our culture. It's sharing the beliefs of the daily people and finding the similarities. And by finding the similarities, even though we're countries that geographically we are very apart in terms of distance, we can find commonalities and we can find shared dreams and aspirations. And that's exactly what we have to do, to break the silence and express ourselves by feelings, by emotions, by cultures, by dreams that in this case are going to be portrayed in the camera. So I'm excited to see the photographers. Thank you for making the trip, and I hope that you find many things to remember when you're back in Bangladesh.
La palabra ahora la maestra Graciela Báez Ricardes, directora general de Política Educativa, Mejores Prácticas y Cooperación de la Secretaría de Educación Pública. Adelante, directora.
Muy buenas tardes a todas, a todos. A nombre del secretario Mario Delgado reciban un caluroso saludo. Y que no les dé miedo todas las hojas que traigo aquí, que va a haber traducción simultánea, porque no vamos a tener tiempo para disfrutar de la exposición, ¿verdad? Welcome to everybody, Ambassador, to the artists also. Welcome to all the diplomatic people that are here with us. Ambassador, I am happy to see you here in this event. And thank you very much for everybody that is here this afternoon.
Shahidul Alam, artista y fotógrafo, cuya intervención también contará con traducción consecutiva al español. Adelante.
Hola, I'm delighted to be here. Thank you very much, the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, my friend, His Excellency Mushfiq Fazal Ansari, and the dignitaries here, ambassadors, friends. Thank you for having me. Bangladesh is on the other side of the globe, but in terms of the latitude, we're almost absolutely identical. We have 6 seasons. The season that's just started, as you can tell from the rain outside, is Shorod. That is also our season. In Bangladesh, people celebrate Shorod because of its clouds. Children play in the rain, lovers huddle, poets write poetry. It's my favorite season. Despite the fact that we have these similarities that previous speakers have mentioned, we don't know so much about Mexico. We know because of our colonial past, we know about what happened in Britain, in other places. Except for Frida Kahlo and a few prominent people, we don't know so much. The history of photography is largely a history of Western photography. The world, and that's true of history generally. There's a very interesting African saying that goes something like, until the lions find their storytellers, stories about hunting will always glorify the hunter. Until the lions find their storytellers, stories about hunting will always glorify the hunter. Because of that, we decided we would put together a database of photographers of the South. And in that process, I reached out. This was way before internet, but I did my digging and I discovered that there was a famous photographer called Pedro Meyer. So I wrote off to Pedro Meyer, asking him if he would join this community, we would build something together. We had never met. It was handwritten letters, telexes, faxes, emails. He was much more proficient technologically than I was, but I will take credit for the fact that I introduced him to Skype. So he wrote to me to say he was bringing out a new book called Truths and Fiction, and he wanted me to write the introduction. It was about digital photography. At that time, I knew nothing about digital photography. And I explained to Pedro to say, well, why me? I know nothing about this. And he says, that's why I want you to write. So I started writing. And in my text, I talked about the clouds, the Shorod clouds, the mango trees, the crows cawing, and all sorts of things that were happening around me. Later on, Pedro was having a major exhibition of canvas prints in Arles. I also had a much smaller exhibition, but I knew he was there, so I went over to the gallery to see him. When he looks at me, he thinks I'm Spanish, and he talks to me in Spanish. And I explained to him, no, I'm from Bangladesh. And he says, my friend Shahidul Alam, he's from Bangladesh, he's here. I'm going to introduce you. So of course I told him who I was, he gave me a huge big hug, and we became friends. Later, he invited me to Mexico, and I had a show at the Centro de la Imagen. And at the end of the show, we were having a reception at his place, and then we had a little party in a warehouse, abandoned warehouse. And as I'm sitting there, my friend sitting opposite me says, look behind you. I looked, and there was this guy whom I didn't recognize, and I'm embarrassed to say that was Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So he came to see the show. At the end, we were going to go back. There was a friend of mine, Max Kozlov. We were staying at the same hotel, so we were going to share a taxi to go back. But before that, everyone had warned me. They said, Mexico is a very dangerous place.
México es un país muy
You'll get
peligroso.
robbed. Watch out, yeah? So we sit in a taxi and we're going, and this taxi driver goes through a dark alleyway, and he takes the window down, he beckons to some people, and some people come out of the shadows. So Max and I, we're shitting ourselves in the back seat. And they have this long conversation, and then this guy comes over to my window and knocks on the glass. Take the window down,
Le bajo a la ventana.
and the guy sticks his head in and says, the taxi driver wanted to tell you that he loved your show on television. So I find myself in a country where someone like Gabriela Garcia Marquez comes to my exhibition, and a taxi driver watches a program on photography on television, and recognizing that the person is in his back seat,
Y reconocen
he has
a
to
la
tell me
persona
how much he liked my
En el
work.
asiento.
And that is what is so beautiful about this country. Since then, I've invited Mexican artists to come to my place. So Pedro Mer has come to Bangladesh, Graciela Iturbide has come to Bangladesh. I've run workshops here in Mexico, and students, one of them might be here, Cristobal Trejo and other students have come to my festival. The first time I came, I also had the chance to see the great Manuel Alvarez Bravo. And very recently, I was curating a show where I had the collective work of Bravo and Iturbide together in Germany. So while we are thousands of miles apart, while we speak different languages, I think we have that commonality, that warmth, the tenderness, the love for arts, and most of all, a common love of freedom. So that is what I would like to take back with me.
Es lo que
Thank
me
you for
quiero
having me.
llevar.
Gracias. This is actually, it's chronological in a sense. So at a time when I decided to start photography, my interest was in pictorial photography. So I was producing pretty pictures, and then I started doing nudes. But that picture at the end is quite interesting because I started getting involved with the Socialist Workers' Party. But these are all Bangladesh. This gentleman is very interesting. He was Major Zia, a famous freedom fighter who later became the king of the pirates. I started training women photographers, but also, again, I was looking at the gendered aspect of media, the fact that the women are the objects and it's men take the pictures. So those are the things we were beginning to challenge. Part is the beginning of the work that I'm now doing, or have continued doing, called the Struggle for Democracy. So I left Bangladesh in '72 after it had been newly liberated, and I came back to find a general was taken over. So I began as an activist in the streets, taking photographs of the movement to bring him down. So I'm looking at everyday pictures, but here's an interesting thing. There was a very big flood in Bangladesh. And before the flood waters have dried, there was a very opulent wedding of the daughter of a minister. This gentleman, on his back it says, "Let democracy be freed." He was killed on the 10th of November 1987. And we had this show on the 10th of November 1989 to remember Nur Hussain. This is a picture of after Ershad fell. We were able to bring down Ershad, and this was the campaign. And Khaleda Zia, who later became the Prime Minister, and in fact he was her press secretary at that time. So she's on a campaign trail. This is all jubilant. This is the introduction of democracy in Bangladesh. This series is about workers. You know, people digging earth, garment workers, steel mill workers. On that side, again, we've got workers, so that's part of the continuation. The top picture is about microcredit. Yeah, you now know about Professor Yunus. That was, she had borrowed money to set up her own industry, and this is this shipbreaking industry. Ships go all the way across to be in their last journey, and they're dismantled in Bangladesh. This is a different story. This is part of a story. There's actually one picture which is separate, which is called Crossfire. It's about extrajudicial killings. So what I did was I photographed the events that took place. And the idea was to imagine what the dying person might have seen in their last moment. That's pictures of a very important case that took place where a woman was goaded into committing suicide. This is interesting. When I was jailed, of course, I wasn't allowed to take pictures. So when I came out, I told what had happened to my niece, who's an artist and an architect, and she sketched these based on my memory.
Okay.
But this radio was given to me by my fellow prisoners. They said, "You're a journalist, how can you be without a radio?" So they made this radio inside the jail and gave it to me, and we smuggled it out. This set here is about the ongoing resistance. The students protesting about the Digital Security Act, which is about freedom of expression. This is where a blogger had been killed, the protests. And this one is about Shirin Abu Akleh, the journalist that Israel killed. So we've been involved in that as well. This is actually my partner. This is very interesting. This is taken on the 5th of August last